raw dogged anything in his life. Listen closely,
My
Chris.
sister's here.
Yeah, please don't elaborate. Just leave as is. We're good. He's never done that. No, thank you.
All right, so you're raw dogging life.
I'm raw dogging life.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Rise of Basic Men podcast. My name is Chris, and as always, I am joined here by David and Joey. Today is a very special day. We have our very first guest on this podcast. She has gone through hell the last year. She had a harrowing attack back in July 2022. She's gone through ups and downs, and she's going to tell us about her fight with anxiety, depression, PTSD. She's also going to tell us her fight to reclaim her own happiness. And without further ado, my sister, Karissa, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Well, absolutely thrilled to have you here, Karissa. You know, your presence here brings an extra dose of excitement to our podcast today. You see, our listeners are really looking forward to hearing your captivating story and connecting with your experiences. So before we dive in, how about taking a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah. Okay, so my name's Karissa. I'm 34 years old. I'm his sister, or my brother Chris's sister. And we kind of grew up like in this nice sheltered little life and went on vacations and had fun. He's making faces. And we just had
you grew up.
We went on family vacations. We just had the best time growing up. And then I think like hobbies that I have now are just like I love doing puzzles. I love going swimming. I have a 7-year-old daughter, so just doing fun activities with her. She loves her Uncle Chris, but he is not her favorite.
What? We've gone over this before. It was definitely one of the intros, and she's a little shit. But I love her to death. I love her to
She's
death.
She's the best.
Fucking kids.
I know.
Right?
Fucking kids. Exactly.
But yeah, so that's kind of me. Like I'm a mom. We love doing things like as a little family. And she's just a great kid to be around. She's fun.
And you're from Texas?
I am. Well, okay. So technically I'm from California.
Oh, you were born. Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry.
Why you gotta out us like that?
But
man?
like I moved here when I was 5, so I'm an Austinite for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he was older, so he's less of an Austinite than me.
Well, last time we spoke, you said you were really into like puzzles and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah, I just finished a 1,000-piece puzzle, and it was like the underwater with a turtle and fish and all these really cool things. And yeah, they're a lot of fun to do. They've been like they're really great to kind of get you out of your head. Yeah, I started doing them when I was during the thick of COVID. I started doing puzzles, and I started out at 300, and now I'm at 1,000 pieces. But I don't want to go too much over because like having to like prep the puzzle pieces of like turning them all over, finding your edges, getting the colors and sorting
Separating
all that.
them.
Yeah, it's like so much work.
Sure.
And I'm like 1,000 pieces is all I can handle.
How long does it take for you to do like 1,000 piece? If you had to put the hours together?
If I had to put the hours together, probably like 6-7 hours because I'm usually like, I like to listen to my podcast. Obviously, I listen to this podcast when I'm doing my puzzles.
That's pretty impressive. 1,000
Yes.
piece puzzle?
Yeah. I think I would say because I like to put my like headphones in and just work on it and
Sure.
just kind of like blank out and just work on it and just have fun doing it.
Yeah, I mean, we had that hobbies episode not too long ago, and that's a great hobby to kind of turn your mind off. Like David had said in that episode, you know, it allows your brain to kind of like, all right, time to fix what's been going on and really help you through things for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely like, yeah, you can't think of anything negative while you're doing it because you're so focused on like, got to get the puzzle pieces matching up, and it's fun. It's easy.
Didn't you mention that you did like an all black one? Like it was all the same color?
Yes. So my brother got me a Mickey Mouse 1,000-piece puzzle from Disneyland.
You're welcome.
Oh, well, we'll see about that. And it was almost like a full black puzzle. And then it had like, I think 6 to 8 Mickeys, and they were all very similar in color. So trying to figure this out. I mean, this puzzle took like maybe 2 to 3 months, I want to say. And I'm like almost done. And backstory real quick, my brother likes to go behind me when I'm working on puzzles and he'll go and hide pieces, right? So then, so then I'm on the last piece and I'm like, where is it? And he's like, ha ha ha. But anyways.
I mean, as an older brother, like that's a given. That's what I have to do.
And then he's also gotten my daughter into it too. She'll now hide pieces from me too. And I'm like, come on, guys.
Who's going to do it when I'm not there?
But anyway, so I do this whole 1,000-piece puzzle of Mickey, and it's black, and it's like very hard. 2 to 3 months afterwards, and I'm missing a black center piece, not like an edge piece, like a center piece gone. So I call my brother up and I'm like, hey, Chris, where's this piece? And he's like, I don't know. I didn't take a puzzle piece. And I'm like, yes, you did. He's like, okay, we'll check here. And he has me searching in all of his little like hideouts. And it's like 6 or 7 hideouts that he has. And he's like, well, I don't know. And I mean, I'm even having my parents look for this stupid puzzle piece because I've worked on this thing for so long. It was gone. Never had it.
Do we know that Chris?
I think he did.
Did he sabotage it?
I think he did for sure.
I did not hide that puzzle piece. I know for a fact.
You sound
I did
like
not
Bill
do that.
Clinton. I did not have sexual relations.
No, yes, I hide your puzzle pieces, but I don't think I was like home for that time
So
to do
weird.
that.
Oh yeah, because I think you were also living in Dallas at the time.
Yeah, I was living in Dallas at the time, so I wasn't there. That wasn't me.
I could
still
see you
questionable.
making that drive.
Yeah,
just
I was
for
about to
that.
say
He would
that.
definitely. He's like, I got nothing to do today. I'm gonna go fuck with
He's just gripping the wheel the whole time, like going 90 down the highway.
I'm a very spiteful person, I guess. I don't know.
He didn't like that my parents liked me more than him.
Okay, let's move on.
Family therapy time
I
is
like how
over.
you're like, you're that's true, but we don't need to talk about it.
Just because you have the kid.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, it wasn't her entire life. Just that at that point it's when it switched.
Well,
Exactly.
well, let's do this. And thank you so much for giving a breakdown of who you are, you know, what you enjoy doing. I just really wanted everyone to get a perspective of really just you're a normal person like anybody else, right? And before we go into your harrowing story, I just wanted to set that tone.
Yeah.
Okay. So I appreciate that. But I'd love to, pass it over to you. Would really like for you to describe what did the day look like, leading up into your story. But really, I'll just hand it over to you.
Yeah.
You just start off however you want to start off.
Yeah, the day before. What was the day before like?
Okay. So the day before, so the attack happened July 9th, 2022. So July 8th, I work at 7 a.m. with this guy and the guy that attacked me. So we go into work together at 7 a.m. and we have to put out all of our new shoes. And so I'm filling our U-boat. What?
Where do you work at again?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I work at DSW. It's a big shoe store. It's a great job. I love my job. They've really taken care of me. I have nothing negative to say about them. Just let that be
Are you sure?
positive. Okay. Amazing place to work.
That's awesome.
Great coworkers.
That's awesome.
But anyways, so yeah, so we came in and we're putting new shoes out. So we have like these little, we call them U-boats. It's like a big little transportation thing. And so I'm filling them up and he's out there putting things away. And I'm noticing like when I finally get out to the floor, it's been like an hour and I go out there to help him. And I'm noticing that things aren't where they should be. So I just go around and I start picking them up and putting them away. And I'm just like, oh, I should tell him something, but there was something in me that was like, oh, maybe just leave it alone for now. So I just kind of left it. I just fixed what I needed to fix. And then I remember later that day, I told an associate, hey, I don't think he knew where a lot of the stuff went. Can you make sure that it gets to the floor where it needs to go? And she's like, yeah, sure. That was it. That was the day. And then later on that night, I was talking to my boyfriend and I was like, yeah, it was just weird. I just didn't feel comfortable coaching him. And I know that I should have. And I know that if I tell my boss, she's going to be like, you should have coached him. But I just didn't feel comfortable.
Was this a pattern with this person? Like, did you,
No,
or was this
I
a
never
random?
this was just random. This was so random because I'd worked with him by myself before. And he'd always be like, if he had questions, I would go and answer them. And like, if he had any feedback, I would listen to him. Or if he had like, oh, can you explain this further? How do I need to do this? And I would stand there with him and show him like what needs to get done because I'm a very hands-on manager. And so I never got that feeling until that day. until that day. And so then again, that night we're like talking and it's just like, oh, it's fine. It's just, the weird gut feeling. It's fine. So then the next morning I work at 6 a.m. and I'm late. I get there like 6:15 because I had to get Starbucks before I go. It was important.
You got to do it.
You have to.
The little things in life.
Yes.
Priorities,
Man, if they could sponsor y'all.
Starbucks.
So anyways, I stop and I go in and I get my Starbucks. And so I'm at work by 6:15. And by the time I get to work, my other manager, his name is Andrew, he was there, as well as my attacker was there. And so I go in and put my stuff down in the back and I check in with Andrew when I first get there. And it's like 6:20 and we're chit-chatting and I'm like, okay, I'm going to fill bags at the front. And so I take my little gray cart and I fill up with bags and I go to the front and I'm putting bags away. And I remember Andrew was up there with me and he was asking me something and then he left. And so then I turn around and I take my gray cart and I'm walking to the back to go get more bags. And then that's when I see, and mind you, when I first came in at 6:15, I like saw my attacker out of the corner of my eye. And I just I didn't say good morning to him. And I normally say good morning. So so that was that. And so then it's like, I'm walking down, going to the back again. And I notice out of the corner of my eye again, I see him walking. In my store, it's like separated by a walkway. The front half and the back half is separated by a walkway. And so I see him walking with purpose towards me. And I'm like, that's weird. And the store's empty. And so it's like, we really don't fall. Like, we really don't, if you don't have to walk down the same aisle as somebody, you don't.
It's just three of you.
It's
right?
just three of us. So there's no reason for us to walk down the same aisle. Like, you could take the next one or whatever. There's no reason. And so I see him and he's walking with a purpose. And I'm like, weird. And then I see him turn down my aisle and I'm like, okay. And then he's like, you stupid bitch. And then he goes, and as he says this, he's like passing me. And I turn around to say, what? And as I'm saying what is when he starts coming at me with a box cutter. Now, our box cutters have guards on them. And I honestly think that probably saved my life is because they have guards on them. So even if it's fully extended, it has guards so it can't really puncture anything. That being said, he did get me. I don't really remember how it happens because this is when my adrenaline is through the roof.
Sure.
But I think he goes for my neck because he got the base of my neck at the back left side of my neck. And then and that one was a small puncture. And then I think that's when he goes for my thigh. And that one's the big one. That one, it's like an inch and a half long. It was really wide. And then I think that's when I fell back and he got me. The last blow was to my eyebrow. And so the eyebrow one, he hit it so hard that it went down. So instead of just going straight through the bone, he couldn't go straight through the bone. So he almost he nicked it and it went downwards. So it's you know what I mean? Right. Into your eye. And so then at this point, he's now hit me and he got me a fourth time, but that one, I just have a few scar marks of the guards because he hit me hard enough that I got the guard marks on me. So then by now I'm I have fallen back. I'm on the floor and I remember looking up at him and I remember thinking, if you don't scream, you're going to die. If you don't scream, you're not going to see your kid anymore. And so that's when I started screaming and I've never screamed like this in my entire life. And I just it was just pure terror. And I just started screaming. And then that's when he kind of looked at me and then he just bolted. He ran out the door. And then, so my coworker, Andrew, he's in the stockroom the entire time this is happening. Because mind you, this attack took maybe a minute total. I mean, from the time they have him on footage coming out of the stockroom to the time he's leaving the front door, I think the span is 2 minutes. So, I mean, that's how quick this attack happened. So he was in the back. My coworker, Andrew, was in the back. So when I'm screaming, I later found out that he thought it was I saw a cockroach. And and like I was screaming
There's a
because
difference between that scream right there.
Apparently not.
and I'm like, that makes total sense because like, why would your mind go to worst case? Because you would never think like that. So he thought I had a cockroach. It wasn't. So he comes out. And by now I've like crawled to the middle of the floor because I'm scared that, I saw him run out, but who's to say that he's not going to come back and like get me again? So by now I'm like in the middle and I'm on the floor and I know that I'm bleeding, but I don't realize how much I'm bleeding. And so Andrew comes up and he's like, "Oh my God, do you need first aid?" And I was like,
No shit. Does a bear shit in the woods?
I was like, I think I need 911. So he calls 911 and the 911 operator was great. Like he had her on speaker and I was even answering some of the questions because she was wanting to know like the nationality of him. And I was like, he's Hispanic. And at this time, like my adrenaline's through the roof. I'm also telling him like, go lock the front door. I don't want him to come back. And so he goes and locks the front door as he's on the phone with 911. And this happens in Sunset Valley. And so within minutes, I mean, it was probably like 3 minutes. We had the fire department, we had the police, and we had EMS all there.
They were getting Starbucks.
They were,
they were all right there. And so for people that don't know, Sunset Valley is a very small community inside Austin. And so they have their own police force, fire department. That's why they were there so quick.
But it was just amazing. And like, the attention that they gave me was just so great. Like it just it was very comforting because I remember, they immediately covered my eye because at this time my eye is like black. It's swollen shut. I don't know like if I have any sight in that eye at this time. I'm like only worried that I'm going to lose sight in my eye. And this happened on my left eye. So the EMS comes and they wrap my eye and they put, and as I'm waiting for EMS to come, I call my boyfriend. I'm like, he stabbed me. And he doesn't understand what I'm saying because I'm hysterical. And so he's like, I'm on my way. And he was in the store within like 5-10 minutes. Like that's how quick he got there. And so
they just let him in or?
So, well, he was banging on the door and I remember hearing it and being like, that's my boyfriend. And so the cops went and told him, you need to calm down. And he's like, let me in the door. So he's with me. He's holding my hand and he's telling him like, I think she's hit somewhere else. I think she has another stab wound somewhere else. And I don't know what's going on. They've covered my eye. And when they covered my eye, they actually wrapped both of my eyes. And I think that was probably for the best because I didn't see how much blood was on the ground. And I remember one of the EMS people being like, it might be 50 cc's of blood, which I don't know how much that is, but it was a big pool of blood. And then they wrapped me up and then they take me to the ambulance and I get in. And he's like, do you think you're stabbed anywhere else? And I was like, I don't know. And mind you, my adrenaline is still pretty high. But that's when I start feeling my leg is like, there's a sharp pain in my leg. And I said, I think there's something on my leg. And so he cuts it and I felt my leg and I felt wet. And so obviously that was blood. So he cut my jeans off and there is my third stab wound on my leg. And this one was pretty big. It was like 1.5 inches long. It wasn't very wide, but it was the deepest one. Like I could see things in there. Yeah. So then they take me to, and I really don't remember the ride to the hospital. And I don't remember coming off of the EMS, off of the ambulance into the ER. So I don't remember any of that. But I remember once I'm in there, I'm like surrounded by 5 or 6 people, and one of them being a doctor, and the rest of them are, I believe, are nurses. And the doctor opens my eye, my left eye that's been swollen shut, and it's so painful. And I'm like, I don't want to lose my eye. He's like, it's reactive, it's good. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And then I have my other nurses that were like, I was never alone. Once they did all the initial testing, because they basically stripped me naked, checked to see if I have anything else. They also give me a COVID test. And then they give me a MRI. No, I think it was a CAT scan. They did. And then once that became normal, or once we got out of there, that's when I started to feel pain. Once I was in the CAT scan, that's when I started to feel pain. And so then I was like, I'm not feeling, and also in the ambulance, they wanted to give me fentanyl. And I was like, I don't know about fentanyl, because you hear about all these horror stories about fentanyl. And it's like,
I mean, I trust them,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
I'm like, but no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm really good.
That's a hard pass on that one.
I'll deal with the pain.
What was the pain like? Like, obviously pain,
Yeah.
you know, we all kind of sure, but like, was it did you feel a lot of pressure?
Yeah.
Like, what was this
So
pain?
I think so, and I really only felt it. I felt a throbbing in my eye, because that was swollen shut, big
Sure.
black eye. I felt the throbbing of that, and then I felt sharp pain on my leg, because that's where the biggest wound was. And so then when I'm in the CAT scan and they're doing the testing or whatever, and I come out and I'm like, I can use the fentanyl now. And so they get me. He's like, I'm gonna get you the baby dose. I'm like, thank you. And he was an amazing nurse. He stayed with me basically the entire time I was there. And I was at St. David's South. And he was amazing. He made me laugh the entire time, which is something I should just be crying the whole time. Him and another nurse were just so kind and so warm that it just made me feel very comforted.
Was that the fentanyl or?
Probably a little bit of both.
Well, then shout out to the nurses
Yes.
over at St. David's
Yes.
South.
Absolutely. We
Yes.
actually know a couple of the nurses
Yeah.
over there. Do you remember this guy's name? Or?
No, I just remember that he was just funny. I think he was of Asian descent, but he was just funny. He would I remember he gave me a tetanus shot, and I was like, oh shit. And he goes, don't you fucking cuss in my ER. And I'm like, oh,
Love
this
at
is
first
who I
sight.
am. Yeah, I'm like, this is how we're gonna be. Okay, cool. And then another thing was my boss had come to the hospital. And so she was by my bedside the whole time. And finally, I was in almost like a storage closet right by the nurse's station. And I think they do that just because I'm an assault victim at this point. And so he's getting ready to transport me to my actual, to an emergency room, my own room. And he's like, and my boss is on the phone with whoever she was on the phone with, one of our leaders. And he goes, how much you want to bet I can lose her? And he starts wheeling me really fast out of the room. I'm like, there you go. And then I also had a nurse that she was cleaning me off before my family came back to see me. She was cleaning me off, and I guess I didn't realize I had blood all over my face. And so she's cleaning me off, and I'm like, I just washed my hair. And she's like, oh, girl, I'm so sorry.
Never looked better.
I hate when that happens. I'm like, it's a hair wash day.
Don't care about the stab wounds anymore. It's
It's
all
the
about
hair.
the hair.
I had a perm.
So yeah, they were amazing. And then so I got to my little ER room, and then that's when I really started to feel a lot of pain in my leg, because I also had to get up to go to the bathroom, and I just remember dripping blood. And I remember looking at the nurses at the nurses station. I was like, I'm sorry. They're like, fine. I'm like, okay.
So is this pre-surgery?
This is pre-surgery.
Pre-surgery,
Yeah.
they have bandages on you.
Yeah. So I never got stitches on any of my wounds.
Did you have any tourniquet or anything like that?
Yeah, so they put one on my leg. The moment I stood up, it came off. So it's
Jeez.
Did they put
Just ripped.
a workable one?
eventually they wrapped it tighter. They put a actual Band-Aid,
Yeah.
and because they wanted it to heal naturally.
The nurse
And then-
put his belt. He was so nice. He put his belt around my thigh.
And then they also put a big old patch back here. And then the next day my cousin took it off. She's like, it wasn't even on the actual wound. I was like, okay, it's fine.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
So we get to I get to my own little hospital room, and I'm feeling the pain. And so then they give me, I don't remember the drug. It starts with a D.
Fentanyl.
No,
Fentanyl.
it's Dilaudid.
Yes.
Ah.
It's supposed to be the best.
Ride the
ever.
lightning,
Yes.
baby.
And that one hit different
Then what?
than the fentanyl. That one was it was 10 minutes, not even, it was probably 30 seconds after they put it into my IV. It was
So I want to stop right there.
Yeah.
I really want to get a description here
Yeah.
for people like me who've never have Dilaudid.
I've never had it. I've just
it-
heard lots about
Okay.
it.
If you had to describe it in the best way,
Euphoria.
whether you say it's melted butter or something, what would you expect?
It's I was just in euphoria. I was just very euphoric. I remember,
Did it hit quick?
yeah, I'm telling you, within 30 seconds, I was like, I'm high. I feel very high. I feel no pain. They could stab me again. I would feel nothing.
Sweet Jesus.
And so then, like, it's like I got just so, like, high that I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore. So they took me up to a different room.
Are you sure?
Yeah. I don't know. They took me up to a different room, and I remember, like, I could hear everything, but my eyes were shut. I had no power. Like, I could not open my eyes to save my life. Like, I was just on cloud nine.
What sort of dinner dish? Like, what sort of dish would you feel like? Like melted ice cream or what?
Probably melted ice cream would be perfect.
Okay.
Or like butter, like just like chill.
Syrup. Just
Yeah,
slowly
like just-
rolling down
just
the tree
laying there,
trunk.
like,
Yeah.
I can't even lift my arms at this. I'm just gone. And they're like, yeah, it feels good.
So you
I'm
feel
like,
great.
"Yes, it
All right.
does."
Sorry. Yeah. Proceed. Yeah. Sorry.
The rise of basic men does not condone the use of drugs.
Joey seems to be real interested in
know.
the use of this drug, though.
It's for science.
Science.
It's science.
It's to get the full effect, okay?
I want to be in her shoes.
I'm asking for a friend. All right.
Trying to get in the mode right now.
So yeah, then I'm in the hospital room and they come up and they're like, hey, you can stay here overnight. You don't have to. And I'm like, I don't want to. I want to go home. So then they process us to get me out of there. And yeah, I'm on my way home, and so while this is all happening, my brother had to take care of my daughter.
Okay. Yeah. So let me tell can I tell my
Please,
side
'cause
of
I
what
haven't
happened
heard
that
it.
day?
I haven't heard it. So
You haven't
please
heard
tell
it.
me,
Okay.
yeah.
So that day, so I was working in Dallas at the time, and I would come to Austin almost every other weekend, just because I didn't really know anybody up in Dallas. I just had all my friends and family here. So I was leaving very early in the morning. I think I left at like 7 a.m. and I send a text to the family group text. Hey, I'm on my way. I'll be there in 3 hours or so. Then I get a text on the side from my dad. Your sister's been stabbed. She's in the hospital. Your mother's on the way.
A text.
I love that.
A text.
It's real
This is
descriptive.
okay. This is a thing that my dad does because something happened recently along those lines. Not a stabbing, but like somebody going to the hospital, and he sent me a text then too.
What'd you say? Like raffle? Like roll on the floor laughing?
Yeah, right. LMAO. No, so I immediately called him. I'm like, why are you sending this to it? Why are you sending this to me in a text? What is going on? He's like, I'm sitting here with Abby, my niece, and I can't say things out loud. We don't want her to know anything. It's like, oh, I'm the asshole. Okay. So
Agreed.
so at this point, we don't know anything. My dad just said, your sister's been stabbed. So in my mind, I'm not thinking a box cutter. I'm thinking,
Is she on her deathbed?
right,
Yeah.
I'm thinking a knife. And so at this point, I'm going on I-35, down the I-35 corridor. I'm going like 120 miles an hour, just flying.
But for anyone that's not in Texas, that's like 10 miles over the speed limit on the
Yeah,
highway.
right.
He's barely speeding at this point.
I was maxing out the little rental car I was in, okay? That's the little Nissan Sentra or whatever I was in. But no, I was flying down the road, and I didn't care if I got pulled over. I'd tell them what was going on, all that kind of stuff, right? And so the funny thing is I'm like trying to find out this guy's name, and Dad, do you know the name? He's like, no, she won't tell us. I call my mom. Mom, do you know the name? No, she won't tell us. They haven't found him, all this kind of stuff. And so I started calling a couple other friends. I think I actually called you, David.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I called you, and I was like, my sister's been stabbed. I don't know what's going on. We're going on a manhunt if I can find this guy's name. And you were like, yeah, no, I'm out. And I have another friend. He has 3 kids and all this kind of stuff. And I told him the same thing. I was like, dude, we're going on a manhunt. He goes, I'm feeling froggy. Let's do this. It's like, I'm like, motherfucker, you have 3 kids. Shut the fuck up, man.
Dude, I wish I knew you like that because I thrive on that. I would be
yeah.
I'm sure my wife would be like, you're not going. I'd be like, come on.
We're just gonna beat him up.
Yeah, we're just going to go find a man.
But so I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, all right, so I need where am I going to the hospital? Where am I going? Because I'm obviously this is a different day than I had planned. He's like, no, your mom's there. I'm here with Abby. Come here. You're on Abby duty today. I'm like, okay. So I'm on Abby duty. So I get closer and I call again just to make sure, hey, do I need to go to the hospital? What do I need to do? Come to the house, hang out with Abby, keep her mind off of things we don't want her to know yet. The reason is because whenever Abby sees my sister in pain, her mom in pain, she freaks out.
I mean,
Freaks out hard.
sure,
Obviously,
yeah.
yeah, she's 7 years old, or at the time 6. She freaks out. So obviously we didn't want that to happen. So until we knew more. So yeah, we were playing playing games, and then we went out to the pool. One of my favorite pictures that I have on my phone that's on my background whenever it switches on is her at the pool that day. One of my favorite pictures of her.
Nice.
And I just remember, my mom comes home. Me and Abby were upstairs watching. We were trying to watch Lion King or some animated show. Definitely Lion
Starship
King,
Troopers.
yeah. And then she pulls Abby aside, tells her, "Hey, your mom. There was an accident. Your mom is hurt." And immediately she just like freaks out, and we ended up having to call her dad to come and pick her up, and then my shift was over with Abby, and then I could finally okay, what is happening? And then found out it was a box cutter, so it was like a little bit of a relief for me, but obviously Karissa was going through a lot more.
Well, go for it.
Oh, no, go for it.
Well, I was just going to ask, transitioning to what Chris just mentioned, curious from your perspective, what kind of support, from once you're home now from the hospital, right, and the day's kind of settling down. From your perspective, what kind of support did you get from your friends, family, and beyond?
It was amazing. I always feel loved, but my godmother, my mom told my godmother, almost when we got home, she finally called my godmother and told her, because my godmother is a worrywart. So she tells her, and then my godmother comes to me and she's like, she's teary eyed and she's just like, "So sorry." And it's okay, Nina, I'm okay. And then I'm like, I pull in, when we pull into the house, my dad, my mom, and my brother are all standing outside basically waiting for me. And then they all come upstairs to my room with me. And then even the next day, all my family kind of rallied around me, which was amazing. So all of my cousins, everybody that lived in Austin was at the house Sunday. And so it was just so nice. And then my boyfriend had texted my best friend and was like, "This is what happened." And so that night she called me. She's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I was like, "It's fine. I'm okay." And so she was by my side from day one. We were just good friends. And then she stayed with me for a week, and then we became best friends.
That's when things happen, right?
Yeah.
When you're in the shit.
So that whole night, it was we kind of kept it low key. My parents were there. My godparents were there. The next day, my extended family came, and we just made a day of it. My boss even came back to the house and just hung out with us for a few hours. And then after that, I think my mom and my dad had to go to Arizona to visit my grandmother, and my mom didn't want to go. And I was like, "No." I've always been this type of person of don't stop doing something because of me. So I was very much pushed her to go. And I was like, "Don't worry. My boyfriend and my friend will be here. They'll be here the whole time." And so my best friend basically moved in, because I think my parents were gone for a week or two. My best friend basically moved in, and she was there every moment that I have a funny story of so I got these nosebleeds because he hit me with so much pressure, with so much force on my eye. He fractured my orbital bone, and it also caused a lot of damage to, I guess, my nasal passages. And so I had a lot of bloody noses that were really scary, and I was just always thought something was wrong. I thought it was my brain was bleeding or something, and it was really scary. And then at the end of it, I'd been getting these for almost a month, and at the end of it, it was almost like a golf ball size blood clot came out of my nose.
What?
Jesus, I've had that happen before. It is
A heart skip right there.
Jesus.
It felt so amazing.
It does.
All I can picture right now is that scene from Total Recall where he pulls out the,
Arnold's
the glowing.
Yeah, he's like,
So I call her and I'm like, "Hey, can you come here?" she was like, oh my God. I was like, yeah. It was like at that time we were like,
It's the first time for everything. She's like, yeah, what's the worst thing I'm going to see right now? And then there's a giant, hardened blood clot coming out of you.
and it was like at that point we were like best friends for life. Cause like, how can you not see
That's
that?
what does
in real-
it. I guess it's a blood oath.
Yeah, you guys were regular friends before.
Yeah,
now you guys
basically.
are like really good friends.
Yeah.
That's what makes best friends.
Exactly.
man. So-
Those crazy moments. But
Yeah.
yeah, so like kind of like taking a step back, we, so I think maybe like 3 or 4 days afterwards, I get a call from our workers' comp people. Because at this time, my nose is bleeding. I'm like, I need to go see a doctor. So I tried to make up an appointment with my regular physician. And then my doctor, or then my workers' comp people, they call and they're like, you don't want to do that. You need to see the workers' comp doctor, because if you try to go see your other doctor, then they can dispute it. I was like, okay, cool. I need to go to see my now regular
Primary.
Yeah, no, not them. Now I'm going to go see my workers' comp doctor.
Oh yeah. Their doctor.
Yeah. So I get in the car. Tressa is with me. My best friend Tressa. She's with me. And
Shout out Tressa.
Shout out Tressa.
Shout
I love
out.
you. So she's with me, and we go to Concentra. And so
What's that?
it's like a urgent care
Yeah,
kind
it's
of.
like a medi-clinic.
Yeah.
Day.
That's where I have to go there for my work stuff.
Yeah, a
It's
lot
such a
of work people go there.
Futuristic word. Concentra.
But they were amazing. I love those people there. So we get there and I do all this. They did all the sign-ons, almost like the back end for the workers' comp people kind of did it. So I get there and we didn't have an appointment. So it's just kind of like we're waiting. And this is about a week afterwards, because it was like 3 or 4 days when I finally first contacted my workers' comp people, and then it took a few days to get an appointment. So then once I'm there, or not an appointment, but to like set it up to go to Concentra. So then once I'm there, you're on like a first come first serve basis. So, and this is the first time I'm around a bunch of people. And so I have my first panic attack, and it's scary. And I remember there was a man that was a nurse of some sort, and he was very similar shape to my attacker, very similar, like the shaved head, very similar. And I just went into full blown panic, and I started the hyperventilating, the crying, and here I am, waiting room full of people, and I'm just hysterical. And so then my friend goes to the front desk people, and they're like, can she go somewhere? And so they put me in a room, and we're at Concentra for at least 3 hours. And so when we finally get to the room and they put me in there, Tressa does a really good job of like calming me down, and she starts talking about just everything else under the sun but what's going on. And that really pulled me out of my head, and just, it almost like planted my feet back on the ground, because it was like, what do you want to do after this? I'm so hungry. Me too. What do you want to eat? Well, In-N-Out's right there. And we just kind of went into like a normal conversation. But I remember I was so scared that they were going to come in and be like, you're good to work. Because that's what I've always heard of workers' comp people doing, is they want you to get back to work as quickly as possible. So that's what I was so afraid of happening. Then my doctor comes in and she's like, you're not going back to work. There's no way you won't be going back to work for a while. And I was like, God, at least like they can see that I'm in pain and that I'm not doing good. And so I end up going, like, I'm seeing these people, like, I'm going to Concentra at least once a week, and now I have appointments, so hopefully it goes faster. And so I'm like a month post everything, and I know that I'm starting to feel dark, and I'm starting to kind of go down that path of like depression. And so I tell my Concentra doctor that I think I need to see somebody, and workers' comp takes a long time. And so finally they get me a psychologist to see. And so my first visit with him, I was diagnosed with the trifecta: PTSD, depression, and anxiety. And so I have the whole thing, the whole shebang. Super proud of that.
Well, curious with that, like, what was, so people know, right, these signs and what you were thinking of and what you're feeling. what were some of the stuff that took you down that path, right? What was going through your head? What were you feeling? If you can describe that.
Yeah. So I think the biggest thing that I had was flashbacks, and that was all the time. All the time I was having flashbacks. I mean, even from the first night that I was home, I had terrible flashbacks. I even remember one of my dreams, I felt like he was standing on the corner across the street looking at our house. Like, that's how real that dream was. It felt so real. And so that was the start of it. And then for like the month and a half before I finally got to see the psychologist, it was flashbacks every single day and crying every other day or every 2 days. It was a lot. And so the depression was also kind of like, I just felt like I've always been generally a happy person. And so I just started to kind of retract, and I didn't want to be a mom, and I didn't want, because I love doing things with Abby, and I didn't want to do anything, and I just wanted to lay in bed, and I just wanted to sleep, and I didn't want to leave my room. And I knew that something was not all right with me. And I was also starting to pick fights with he's now my ex, but I was starting to pick fights with my boyfriend at the time. And it was just stupid fights. But then I learned that when you have depression and anxiety and PTSD, your tolerance levels goes all the way down. And so what you used to have tolerance for, you no longer have tolerance for. And all those little things that bugged you, but you could get over, you're no longer going to get over them, and you're going to pick at them. And so that's that is exactly what happened to me. And so,
did you ever think about like, oh, I should have done this, or, like, oh, why did I do that? Or I should have, like, is there anything like that went through your brain? Because I feel like once it happened and you make it through, another thing that goes through your mind is like replaying what you could have done, or I should have done this, or whatever. Was that any part of your mindset right there too?
I think like during it, I probably thought like I should have, if I had a fight, maybe treated it differently or stuff like that. But I can't think of anything right off the top of my head. Yeah. But yeah, so I start seeing him, my psychologist, once a week. And then I'm not getting any better, and I'm feeling worse, and I'm feeling darker. And I never had suicidal thoughts. I'm very thankful for that. But I had thoughts of, I want to just go, and I want to leave, and I want to start over, and I just don't want to come back home. And I remember we'd go to the beach, and then that was my happy place. And then we'd come home, and it was just like dread. Not like the normal dread of like, oh, back to reality, but like dread. This is where
Fear.
it happened. Yeah. All that crap came right back. And so then, again, I talked to my consentor doctor, and they get me a psychiatrist. And again, it's workers' comp. It takes a while. I think it's like another couple weeks before I finally see the psychiatrist, and he gives me antidepressants. And because before then, I'm raw dogging life. Like, who knows?
Raw dogging it. Raw dogging life.
What a saying. Wow.
Like, before this, I'm raw dogging
Just
life.
raw
I'm just
dogging
like
it, dude.
living
Raw
my
dog.
life as bad as I can. It's terrible. So finally, I'm
Explaining
on.
my life right now. Jesus.
Chris has never raw dogged anything in his life. Listen closely,
My
Chris.
sister's here.
Yeah, please don't elaborate. Just leave as is. We're good. He's never done that. No, thank you.
All right, so you're raw dogging life.
I'm raw dogging life. So finally, I'm getting on some antidepressants, and I'm getting on some anti-anxiety medicines, and just starting to feel just a little bit normal. And so it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it other than like, I feel like I'm all better. I'm on the lowest dose it was a 7.5 milligram, which is the lowest dose of antidepressant you can take. And I'm on it, and I feel amazing. I can go back to work. Yeah.
Nope.
So I thought. So then I'm like, I get cleared where I'm talking to the doctor, the consentor doctor, and I'm like, yeah, I really think I can go back to work. I'm feeling better. I'm not all the way there, but I feel good. I can do this. So she's like, okay, we'll do like 2 hours, 2 or 3 times a week.
That's dedication right there. Like, no, I want to go back.
I got
Right?
this. And I think I went back at like the beginning of September. So it's only 2 hours. And I remember the first time, like, Tressa drove with me to the to the store to DSW, and she waits at the door. Like, well, she's in her car in the parking lot, and she watches me walk in, and she's like, it's like watching my child go to their first day of school. So she watches me go
Cool,
in.
but okay.
She watches me go in, and then I'm met at the front door by Christy, my store manager. And I mean, I just got hit all the flashbacks. I mean, I like walked into the store, closed the door. I'm standing, we have a front, almost like a welcome mat. I'm standing there and I'm just bawling. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can come off of this carpet. I'm so scared.
So this is like 2 months after
Yeah,
the
about 2
attack,
months
and
after.
you go in to try yourself when you're not undilauded, but you're feeling good.
I'm not raw dogging life
You're
anymore
not-
because I have
yeah.
my antidepressant.
You were raw dogging life
I
a
was.
bit, but then you got on depressants, and seconds after stepping in, that
hit
door shuts. It's like a wave of
Like
reality
a
of this.
bag of bricks
yeah.
hit me in the face.
My
and
God,
it's like-
is it another panic attack? Is it
Yeah,
another
I
like?
am there. I am there. I'm not full blown panic, but I am pretty much there. I'm like crying. It's hard for me to
Start
catch my
replaying.
breath.
You start
Yeah.
looking at the area
Yeah.
that you were at, probably.
Yeah. And my therapist had taught me like techniques of like breathing exercises when you feel a panic
Does that really
attack.
help though?
No, because when I'm in it, I'm like, fuck that shit.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
scared.
yeah. Thanks. That's why they give you medication, because nothing you can do helps. That's the only thing.
So I'm like, and so my boss is amazing. Like, she stood on the carpet with me. She had her arm around me, and she's not a touchy-feely person. Neither am I. So we're both standing there, and she's trying to be as like comforting as she can. And I'm crying, and she's like, "It's okay. You got this. We can take as long as we want here. Like, we're not in any rush."
What time a day is this?
This is morning, like 8 a.m.
8
So
a.m..
yeah, we
Is
don't
there
open
any
till
customers?
No, we don't open till 10. So she wanted me in and out of there before any customers came in, which I adored her
Smart.
for. Yeah.
Smart.
And so for my first 2 weeks back, again, it was only 2 hours a day, 2 or 3 times a week. I was never in front of customers.
What would
Right. Yeah. I feel like they did that on purpose
Yeah.
just to like
Yeah.
kind of ease you back
Yeah.
in. And also,
Yeah.
they were also like, first day, she's probably not going to stay the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
would you
sure.
just be in there? You wouldn't be put on duty or like having to do anything. It's just, hey, just feel it out.
Yeah, that's exactly. So my
So you
first,
just hung out.
yeah. So my first few shifts were just kind of getting my bearings again. So my first day back, after I want to say I was there for like half an hour on the carpet before I could even come off because I'm like bawling and crying. And so then my boss is like, let's go on a tour. Like, let's go. So she starts telling me, like walking me through, this is what we've done. Cause by now we're already in kind of we're done with back to school. We're into fall. So all the boots have come out. And so
All the
she's
changes.
all the changes.
Boot
I'm
season.
Yeah. Look at this little advertising we have here.
Boots with the fur.
Boots with the fur.
we walked the whole store, and like it's funny because we came by that aisle that everything happened, and she just skirts on by, and I just skirt, and we just walk on right by it.
Just
and
raw
she
dogging
yeah.
Just fucking raw dogging it, dude.
Oh, Joey found something now.
So we walked the whole store, and then she just kind of gives me the chisme that's been going on.
The what?
The chisme.
Is that one of those
gossip.
things where if I ask what's
That's-
cheese man, you're gonna be like,
it's-
oh, cheese man on your face.
That's
gossip.
It's Hispanic.
Yeah.
What is it?
thing for
Gossip.
Chisme, gossip.
Yeah. Gossip.
Okay.
Gossip.
Yeah. Chisme.
The
Oh,
tea.
gossip.
The tea. Yeah.
I was
For
like,
you
I don't
white
know what
people.
that second word is.
I'm Uno Lingo.
You're whiter than me, Karissa.
For the white
Jesus.
people, it's the tea. For us Hispanics, it's chisme.
Okay.
She's like the whitest Hispanic I've ever met.
Yeah.
I know my coworker met
I mean,
him.
her skin is white, dude. So, she's whiter than you.
My
I just
coworker
got
met
the looks. That's all I got.
Excuse me. My coworker met him, and she goes, "Y'all are siblings?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "He looks Mexican."
You should have
I
been.
was like,
C.
"He got all the pigment on the way out. I got none of it."
Oh, damn.
Because I look good. I can tan, okay?
Questionable.
Yeah.
Also, you burn.
Yes, you do.
Okay, back to the story, please.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, I worked those 2 hours, and for the first couple of weeks, I'm only I'm not in front of customers at all. And I want to say so this happened at the beginning of September. I decided I'm going to go back to work. And that was my choice. It wasn't Concentra at all. That was me being like, I'm ready. And then I was also going to see an eye specialist because I had a permanent droop in my eye. So even when if I'm just looking at you, I had a permanent wink. And that was always our joke, was like, you're the best winker. So
I hope those are close friends saying
yes.
Like, I don't know you.
So then I have, so I go and see this doctor, and he's amazing. And he's like, I'm going to fix your eye. And it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to get it as close as you can, because it's not right for somebody to have done this and for you to be stuck with this. And so I had this permanent droop. And then on September 24th, I went in for surgery, and they lifted my eyebrow, or they lifted my eyelid. And it's funny because my mom's like, I always wanted that surgery, because my mom has drooping eyelids, and I actually got it because I had.
Shout out to mom.
Paid for by the company.
Paid for by the company. Nothing was out. I paid nothing. I have not paid anything for therapy. I've not paid anything for psychiatry.
I hope.
And nothing. And so, again, the surgery was paid for. And so I remember coming out, and again, my eye is black, but I was able to see kind of every day my eye getting better. And that was so healing for me, because to me, every time I looked in the mirror and every time I saw that droop in my eye, I would think, what happened?
Replay it,
Every single
Every time you looked at
time.
yourself, you probably replayed everything, and it comes back. You could have a great day, and the littlest thing, it could be a pain, it could be looking at yourself, it could be a feeling, it just replays.
Yep.
Yeah, it just brings you back to that moment.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And
It's just
that's
repetitive.
what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. Every time I would look in the mirror, you're there. And so getting to see that healing and getting to see my eye like open up again. And my final appointment was right after the new year. And he goes, your eye can't get any better. And he would like, I'm so happy.
How did he
with my
say
eye.
that? Was he like, no, your eye can't get any better?
Like,
Or
this
was
is
he
as
like,
good as it gets?
Yeah.
Basically,
or this is, man, it's fucking perfect.
Yeah. How did he say that?
he was like, this is as good as it's gonna get.
Some perfect
Yeah,
plastic
it's like-
surgeon's like, this is as good as it gets.
Well, I remember the nurse, she was like, wow, it looks amazing. And it really did, because I mean, from going from a droop to like, and it's not fully symmetrical, but I'm happy with it. I don't know. I no longer look in the mirror and see a droop.
I'll say this. From the first time I met you, I didn't know the details of this story, right? I knew something happened. I didn't know exactly what happened. I knew some specifics, but I can't tell at all that that's what happened with you. And you look
You would have
great.
been able to tell before.
Yeah.
Like,
I would call you out during that
something's wrong
time.
with that
I'd be like, damn, girl. But no, you look great.
Thank you. I'm really, I couldn't be happier with the end product. And the doctor, when he was done, he told me, I'm surprised he didn't puncture your eyeball, because he went through all those muscles from the top of my eyelid to like, he just went through all those muscles. And so he was like, I'm surprised he didn't puncture it, because he went through all the muscles. It's like, oh, thank God. Because I've always said, if I would have lost my eye, I think I would have been in a completely different situation.
100%.
I would have been way worse. And so after I get this, again, I'm feeling great. Let's go to 4 hours, 4 days a week.
You're
3
really
days a week.
dedicated to
I'm
working
like,
for the man.
Let's go back.
Jesus.
I'm
Like,
like,
I'm
because all
going
I'm
to
doing,
sleep.
By the way, are you still getting paid? Like
the whole
okay.
time I'm getting paid. Yeah. Full salary.
Okay. And
that's
more,
important.
right? Like,
No,
did you get a
not more.
raise during that time?
No, I didn't get a raise, but I did get paid, which that was important. And I mean, obviously I would, because this happened on their watch. So anything that I need, they were
Sure.
going to do, because they didn't want to get,
Sued?
yeah, which I never thought
You're a
about
great
doing
worker.
It. Yeah,
You're a great worker to the man.
I never thought about doing it, because they were doing so much for me, and I was not taking that for granted, because I mean, if they wanted to, they could have said some stuff and been over it, but they took responsibility, and whatever I needed, they made sure that I did.
Is
Or that I got.
there anything that you can talk about, if it even happened, that you got extra or beyond them like being right by your side, taking care of the surgeries and like being very kind to getting you back into the world a bit, right? In the DSW world. Was there anything that you can speak on that they did extra for you outside of that? Like,
No, they really
like,
didn't
did
do
you
anything.
receive anything else or?
No, they really didn't. I will say when it came time for reviews, I didn't think I was going to get any type of raise because I hadn't been there and I still got a raise. So I think that's the biggest thing is I still was eligible to get a raise even though I wasn't in the building for 4 months or however long.
I feel like they owed you.
But see, I never thought of it like that.
Did they have like any kind of like group text message that you know of, or?
So when it happened, I know that my regional manager, my district manager, and I want to say another higher up, and I know the HR person, they were all on a group text together when it first happened. Now, I don't know what happened afterwards, but I know that day that they were all on a group text.
Shit, this happened again, guys.
So
Like,
you
this
heard
happened.
about it, but you didn't see that?
I didn't see it, but my boss told me, she's like, yeah, I'm on a group text with all this and nobody can believe what happened. I'm like, I can't believe what happened.
I would love to like see that and see if anyone sent like gifts, you know, like little joking gifts, you
Like
know,
the little scream guy.
it's like a pirate, like "Arr," or something, you know, like, hey, that's fucked up.
I'm such a shithead. I would probably do that. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm saying. Like, come on.
I think all my leaders are really good people that they were actually concerned. And I don't know that anybody would have done little gifts like
Okay.
It would have just been like, no. They're mature adults. So my brother, not so much.
I was gonna say we're mature adults.
Depending on the hour.
I mean, yeah.
You keep
Maybe.
living in your fairy tale world, okay?
So back to the story.
Yeah, sorry.
So I'm like working like 4 days a week, 4-hour days. And then I start to feel the depression hit me like a bag of bricks. Because at this point, I've broken up with my boyfriend. I've I thought everything was going to be so much better. Once
From the
I got
time you went back to
Yeah.
work, you broke up with.
Yeah, we had problems. And so
Yeah.
it was time to go. But we, like, I just lost my train.
Well, you were talking about like, so one question I had when you
Yeah.
were talking about this was you thought you were good,
Oh yeah.
and then you dipped down again.
Yeah.
So you went through waves of the depression. and all that.
and that's kind of like I was on the 7.5. I was on the least amount, and so thought I was good. And then once I got hit with that bag of depression, I realized I'm not good anymore. So then I called my psychiatrist and I made an appointment. And so again, all these things are happening to me where it's just I thought I was going to be so much better because my eye was fixed, but then it wasn't better. I realized that I was still struggling hard and I was still feeling like the dread.
I was gonna say what is the feeling of your depression? Like what does that feel like?
I did not want to get out of bed. I remember it was a beautiful day. It was like 70 degrees, beautiful day.
I
And
miss those
I
days.
wanted nothing to do with the outside world. And I laid under the covers all day long and I slept all day long. That's when I knew that something wasn't right with me. So my ex, now he's my ex, we still maintained a friendship, and he would come and he would take me out and he would be like, you're going to come with me to go get my daughter and we're going to go get something to eat with her. And so that's what we did. And so he would get me out of the house to actually like be a human. And so I really appreciate him for that, because that's something like I would have stayed in bed all day, every day if I was given the opportunity. And even like living at home with my parents.
Raw dog in life.
Raw dogging it with your
life.
parents.
Oh, don't say that. No.
No, you're gonna need to take that back a little
That's
bit.
the only way you can use that word.
Jesus Christ.
Raw dogging it with your parents.
Yeah, you hang out with your parents pretty often.
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
you?
No, I raw
Okay,
dog
I
it with
just-
them pretty frequently.
Just making sure.
Yeah. Once
That's
a month.
weird relationship.
So like my mom is also so worried about me because she knows that something's not right, because she's seen me at my best and now she's seeing me at my worst. And so of course she's worried of like, what does that look like and what's going to happen and what is she thinking? Because I'm not sharing anything, nobody knows anything, but everybody knows I'm struggling. Nobody knows how I'm struggling.
So let me kind of put this in perspective. So when this all happened, you know, you get to a point where you feel strong,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're like, okay, I can do this. And you get to a point and you try and do it, and it's all back. It one step forward, 2 steps back.
2 steps back. Yeah. I remember being at work one time and I'm just like telling my coworkers, I'm like, I can't do this right now. And I would leave early almost every day because I couldn't do it. I was crying at work. And then finally, I went to my concentra doctor, and then we decided that I needed to take time off again. I couldn't be in the store at this time because I was going through a deep depression. And a deep depression for me, which is not necessarily a deep depression to somebody else. So I talked to my psychiatrist, and he got me on a higher dosage of my medicine. So we ended up doubling my dosage. So I went from a 7.5 to a 15 milligram. And so I'm taking time off of work, trying to get my head right. And so I start my new regimen, and I'm starting to get back there. And this is around Christmas time. And I remember Thanksgiving, I wanted nothing to do with anybody. And, you know, Thanksgiving is family time, and we're really big on our family. And I remember I went to dinner, I ate, I sat down for an hour, and then I said, let's go. And my daughter and I left because I had to take her back to her dad. But I was just ready to go. And as soon as I got home, I got in bed, I had the lights off, and I was just like, it was like so overstimulating because I was so depressed. And so getting home and going back to my room, to my safe zone, was all I could think about. It was how I needed to get there, and I needed to get there fast. And my Nina, my godmother, lives in Marble Falls, and that's where we had it. So I'm in the thick of it around Thanksgiving. And then I start my new medicine, or I start the increase. And so I start to feel a little bit better. And so by Christmas time, I'm back to being a normal human, and I'm working. I think I'm able to go back to work right before Christmas. And I'm thinking, I think we did like 3-hour shifts. It was real small shifts. And so so I'm back at work, I'm feeling better. And then Christmas comes around, and I'm actually like involved with Christmas festivities. Like my mom and I hosted, and I remember my tias were all like, she just looks so much better. She seems so much better. And I felt really good. And so then that's when I started to feel like back to my normal self again. And then,
like you personally, or based on their
personally, I started to feel, because at this point, like I started realizing like I was feeling more balanced out because I was on those meds. So I'm feeling balanced, and I'm feeling almost back to my normal, and I'm able to be like a normal person. What I consider my normal is very like involved with my family. And so I remember Christmas, we were playing games and just having fun. I remember I made a fettuccine Alfredo for dinner.
Dude,
and so
that is...
God, I'm so hungry right now. And that sounds amazing.
It was really good.
That's one of my favorite meals.
I make a really good one.
It's hard to do with the sauce.
Yeah,
Do you make your own sauce?
Yeah,
or?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, so I do two. No,
Chris.
I do two. I make one in the Instapot, and that one I make my own sauce. And then I have the one I made for Christmas, I used the sauce, but I dressed it up because I put onions and mushrooms. Ooh. And I used the expensive Alfredo. And so it was really, really good. There was no leftovers.
Not the Prego. You went to the
the
one that's in Italian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What is that? I'm
gonna try to butcher that name.
Yeah.
No idea, but yes, and it had a lot of butter in it because I remember it was like separated. My mom was like, "Should we get this one?" I was like, "Yes,
that's the
butter,
one."
yes."
So by that time you're 4 months post?
Yeah, I think So July, August, September, October. Yeah.
So do you think it took you 3 to 4 months to kind of go through the shit, right?
I think I pushed myself too soon to go back to work. And I'll tell you, like, the reason being was because I was home all the time. Boyfriend and I had just broken up. And so I didn't want to be home anymore. And
well, you're looking for an escape, right? So you're constantly looking, I can't be here. I need to be somewhere else. And so you're looking for different groups to give you that.
Exactly. Okay. And so that's why I went back to work. And I felt like I went back. Looking back, I went early.
So I have a question. So this whole time was, where was the attacker?
So after he attacked me, he was gone. And he was not seen again for 5 months. It was... And I remember there were times that I called, and this is like, so there were times that I called the sergeant that was taking care of my case. And he's like, "Oh, we went to the residence. He wasn't there. grandma said she's gonna call if he comes back, but he never called. And so I remember right before my birthday, which is November 4th. So it was like November 2nd.
I'll put that in my calendar.
Yeah, are you a Sagittarius then, or what is that?
Scorpio.
Okay, for anyone that cares, that's a Scorpio.
But I'm not like a true Scorpio. I'm like a cool Scorpio.
Yeah, I'm a cool Scorpio. I'm a cool mom.
So I remember like
Just raw dog.
I'm a cool mom. Raw dog in life.
So it was like November 2nd, and we had I was at work and we had a run out. So somebody just filled a mesh bag, filled one of our shopping bags with a bunch of shoes, and they booked it. And I remember we had a police officer come to the house, not to the house, to the store, and we're like, oh, I think it was around $600 that he stole. And he's like, if you don't know the precise amount, we can't prosecute. And I was like, it's not like you're going to get him anyways. And so as soon as I say that, I regret it because I don't want to make anybody feel bad for like, it wasn't
At
their
that point,
fault.
you can say anything that you want.
Hold on. Wait. If you don't know the exact amount, you just get away with it?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to take that as a yes.
I'm taking that note down also. No.
I'm just going to make sure I steal something small they don't know about and be like, oh, you got it wrong. I also stole this $1 sock.
But yeah, I told this officer and I'm like, it's not going to matter anyways. You're not going to get him. Like my attacker's been on the loose for 3 months at this time. He's been on the loose for 3 months and I haven't heard anything. And he looked at me, he goes, oh, that was you. I was there that morning. I said, oh, you were. He's like, yeah, I'm so sorry that they
changed his
caught him.
whole demeanor.
Yeah, and I felt, then it made me feel even worse because this poor man I just went off on, and he's just an officer, and I just felt so bad. Like I don't want to make anybody feel bad.
Poor man.
This poor man, and he was a nice gentleman. And so he said that something like that happened to his daughter, and he wanted to make sure that I felt like they were doing what they needed to do because at this time I felt like they weren't doing shit. And so,
but that's how it goes too. It sucks, but they can't talk about any investigation because if word gets out, then it might help the perpetrator. Who knows what? So from your perspective, it's like, dude, just I'm not going to tell anybody, maybe, but just tell me, all right, what's going on so I can feel better. But they're just not saying anything. I get it, but I don't get it. You know, like
And I'm calling and I'm trying to find out what's going on. And they're like, oh, and they're giving me the same story every time. And it's just like, at this point, I'm like, they're not even trying. And so I remember it was December 8th. I called and I was like, I'm just going to call one more time. I know it's not healthy for me to keep calling them. So I'm not able to heal. I call December 8th and it's like early afternoon and I leave a message with the sergeant and I don't hear back from him. I don't hear back from him the rest of the day. And then it's the next day and I'm like, gosh, why haven't I heard from him? And then I get a call. December 9th, exactly 5 months after the attack, I get a call from that sergeant. And he's like, I have some news for you. And I already know what the news is because he never starts off his conversations with, I have some news. It's always like, well, we're trying, but we're not getting a hold of him. So I'm like, yeah. So I'm in my room, which is upstairs. And I'm like getting up because I have my 2 friends downstairs and I want to get to them because I want the officer to be on speaker when I get downstairs, but I'm running down the stairs and he's like, we got him. I'm like,
dude, what was your react? What was going through your mind?
Like I was so happy.
Anything in my hand would go to the wall immediately. Like, yes!
And Joey would be without a phone.
You're right.
I was so happy. And he was like, yeah, we went to the residence and mom was outside, but I later learned it was his grandma that was outside and she didn't want it to be a big thing. So as he's asleep, they walk into the room and they arrest him.
Grandma gave him up?
Yeah, finally. Yeah. Because he had been with his stepdad in San Antonio since the attack. Yeah.
What a piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Since the attack, he was in San Antonio with his stepdad. They were hiding him.
I just remember this whole time, like while the cops couldn't find him, I was like, Karissa, give me the name. Give me the name. I will go find him.
She's still not giving the name up.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't want to talk about his name because I don't want to give him any life.
No.
What does it rhyme with?
No.
No.
But like, yeah, I never because our cousins even asked what the name. My tia asked, and I never gave the names to anybody.
I was going to with friends. I was like asking
I
everybody.
respect that. I don't like it, but I respect it. Why is that though?
Because I didn't want anybody else to go to jail. I didn't want them to go to jail for something stupid.
There's stories of people getting revenge based on their daughter or son or who knows what, right? And
I didn't want
they
that.
get let go. But I totally respect because you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what you might put your family or friends into.
Exactly.
I mean, I would have just found him and like beat him up a little bit, but I would have like held on to him, call the cops.
I didn't want.
May not have an eye, but
we could play 1,000 bubbles,
I just didn't want anything else to go wrong.
Right.
Because my year had already been to shit. And if I were to tell people their name.
You've been through so much. Why would you be the cause for creating something new?
Exactly. So it was my choice to keep it very private. I didn't my
But
boyfriend.
he's in jail though, right?
No,
or is he in prison?
He's free. Well, now he's in jail.
But now he's in jail, which we'll get to. But
all this time, he's free. For 5 months, he's free. He's running around in San Antonio doing God knows what. And I'm not telling anybody his name. And
was that like the source of your depression, sourse of your anxiety and everything like that? Of course,
I remember
right?
A lot of nights I'd be like, why is he still? And that would bring me to tears of why is he still? Why have they not caught him? What is going on with our justice system that they haven't caught him? Like, why can't they catch one person that stabbed me that could have killed me? Because the first therapy appointment with my therapist, he's like, yeah, he could have killed you. I'm like, heck yeah, he could have, because he got me on my neck.
What?
Yeah, he was like, well, he got me at the base of my neck. So if he got it a little further forward, it would have been the artery. And same thing in the leg. There's that main artery. And then again, my eye, I could have lost that. So there's just so much. I could have died that day, and he was loose. And so that that was the source of my depression. And dealing with all that. But on
December 9th, yeah.
December 9th, he was captured, and he was captured while he was asleep, which just makes me so happy.
So is that on your calendar every year now?
I don't need it on my calendar. I just know.
Well, I mean, yeah, like that's a
What do you want to do
day.
every December 9th now? Is there anything that you want to do?
Well, I think so that day, like, I remember like giving everybody hugs, and I remember calling Tressa and be like, oh my God, they caught him. And we're crying on the phone together, and it's like, we have to meet up later. And we go to dinner, and we go to Texas Roadhouse. And
I mean, where else to go?
The rolls and the butter.
Clearly. Butter, peanuts.
That's cinnamon butter, man.
It's like the best. I need nothing else, just the butter and the rolls.
I love that.
So we're there, and I'm in heaven. I'm so happy that he was caught. I'm just so happy. And so my friend pays for the meal, and I said, I'm going to leave the tip because I have cash. And I left a 50% tip, which, I mean, I know it was like a $40 tip, which it's not 100%, but it was what I could do.
Right.
And so she came up to the table, and I'm like, I just wanted to give you this tip. I just got, my attacker was just caught. The guy that assaulted me was just caught, and I just wanted to be able to pay it forward because I want somebody to feel good like I feel good. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm also an assault victim.
No way.
Yeah. And so like we kind of got teary-eyed and we hugged, and then that was that. But I thought that was really cool. And like, what are the odds that like I'm with this at Texas Roadhouse and my waitress is also an assault survivor?
It's saddeningly
It happens way more than we
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah, not that rare. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane.
The people
And-
that don't speak up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's why we wanted to have you on
and that's
and
what's
tell
important
this.
to me.
Yeah, exactly.
And like give the voice to people who can't have a voice or who don't want to have a voice. I can talk about it, and I can be here, and I can share my story and hopefully help somebody. But yeah, so that was that. And so then he is in jail, and they don't post. He had a bond, but his family keeps him in jail. And so I'm just like starting to put the pieces back together. I'm still on my antidepressants and no longer raw dogging life. I have help. And so
I was gonna make a joke.
I'm kind
but
of
I can't.
sad that you said that. I kind of want you to continue raw dogging it.
one day, eventually, I'll be raw dogging it again. So
Jesus.
So it's like April. Yeah, it was April because this was my daughter's birthday, and I started to feel like almost like a lull. And I'm like, I know I'm feeling a little bit of depression again, but it doesn't make sense because I've been fine this whole time, and I'm on the right like regimen for me.
You're close to a year mark then.
Yeah, close to a year, and I'm like something's not right. So I make an appointment with my psychiatrist, and then he gives me Wellbutrin, which helps with the effects of depression. So you're on an antidepressant, and you still might feel the effects of antidepressant. So might feel like the lethargic, not wanting to be around people, just like the effects of depression. But you're on an antidepressant, so you shouldn't feel that. So then they put you on Wellbutrin, and it makes you feel like a human again.
Yeah, you just said what I was about ready to ask here. So it's like, here, take this. It'll make you happy. All right, now that you're used to that and you're feeling
Exactly.
normal effects again of being human, take this again.
Yes.
That makes no sense
Yeah.
to me, but it makes sense of the whole pharmaceutical industry
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, but it's true. Like I started to feel depressed again, but there's no way that I can be depressed.
Did you
if I'm
ask him
on-
about that?
Yeah, I was like, why am I feeling like this? And he said, sometimes that it's just what happens. And I remember once he said Wellbutrin, I was like, I've seen this commercial.
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my
There's
God.
a lot. That one's on a lot.
Yes.
It is.
Wait, see all the people like jumping around,
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, you
and
can
it's
try.
like, you
And they
feel
feel the
effects of-
daisies.
Yeah, they're like,
And then
I don't know,
2
in a
minutes of
canoe
side
or
effects.
something. Or,
Yes,
know?
I remember the Field of Daisies, and I was like, yeah, that like. And so when he put me on it, he put me again on the lowest dosage, and then I was good. And then he ended up having to increase it because it's like, he was like, it's going to give you energy, and I was like, it gave me no energy. I just want to sleep. And so he increased it again. So I'm still on Wellbutrin, and I'm still on my antidepressant. But anyways,
So you're still on your journey, essentially,
I'm
is
still
what you're
on my
saying.
journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan with your doctor? And I'm sorry if I'm
Yeah.
digging too deep here, but is there, because I've never been on that,
Yeah.
and I know it's very common, right? But is there a typical plan that you guys talk about of, okay, at what point do you start looking towards the
I
weaning
have heard,
off?
Yeah, I've heard a year. Minimum a year is what. So with workers' comp, you have to go to see the workers' comp doctor at least every 90 days. If you're not going every 90 days, you can get a lapse. So I'm going at least every 90 days. And she's talking to my nurse manager or my nurse caseworker. And she's saying, how long is her case gonna have to be open? She's like, well, at least a year because she's on an antidepressant. That's why I think it's at least a year. I'm on an antidepressant, and I think I'm hitting that year pretty soon. But I have been really good, and it's almost like when you're in a depression state and you're on the right meds, it's almost like you're always waiting for that next shoe to drop because you're always kind of like, I'm good now, but I've seen myself and I was good and then I was bad. And so you're almost always waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, I'd love your take on this. And again, I've been out. I've never done what you've gone through or on those meds or anything. But again, a lot of people do. Do you ever think about what it will be like once you are off for your body to
It
generate
honestly,
those,
yeah. Honestly, it scares
those
me.
chemicals again?
It scares me to be off of it because I'm so good and I feel so healthy on it.
Yeah.
That like if they take it away or if I'm taking
That you have to
off
go
of it,
right back into it again.
Yeah, I'm worried that like, and so I know that like when it's time to come off of it, they'll do it very gradually. But it is something that like worries me because I'm very like, if it's one thing I will never forget, it's to take my antidepressant at night because it also helps you sleep. Because that's
Really?
the first thing that my psychiatrist asked me when he first met me was, how's your sleep? And I said, not great. And he said, okay.
He expected that. He's like,
yeah, he's like-
I sleep great now, better than ever.
So yeah, that's another reason why I needed to increase my antidepressant was because anytime I took the pill, it would always take about an hour and a half, and then I'd be dead to the world. And then all of a sudden, I knew I was getting immune to it because I was no longer tired after that hour and a half. So then that's when I knew it needed to be increased because then my sleep was all out of whack again. So that is something that I'm concerned about is like once I come off of it, how's my sleep going to be? How's like because I feel like I've healed and I think I've healed, but I've also had help along the way.
Yeah,
So what does that look like?
I'd be curious to know his or her, I don't know, his opinion on the time frame that it takes to wean off. Like, hey, we'll start weaning you off after a year, but how long does that take?
Yeah. And
Is it another year?
Yeah. His questions are always very like, how are you doing? Like, what do we need? Like, do you need any adjustments? And it's usually like a 15-minute phone call, and then that's it. So yeah, I'd be also curious to see how long the weaning process takes, because it's very interesting. And again, that's something that makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do whatever you need to do, obviously, and do what's right. And your happiness is everything, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And, well, going back into it, so they caught the guy, he's in jail, right? And what's next?
So I get a call from the DA. She's like, we want to go for 5 years. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And
Let's do 10.
Yeah,
Let's do 10, Bob.
20, what?
Like, come on.
$1, Bob.
No, not $1.
$20, Bob.
So, yeah, she calls me and she tells me this. And then, she asked me to walk through the story again. And I walk through the story again. And then from it was like a couple weeks after that. Do you remember we were all at the house and somebody comes and we first hear the ring go off?
Okay, yeah. So we're it's one of the times that I'm actually in Austin, and we're all just hanging out at the house, chilling. I think it was like 9:00 at night.
Yeah, it was dark.
And it was really dark outside. It was 9:00, 8:30, 9:00.
It was about 8:00 because we were getting ready to put Abby down for bed.
Right. Yeah, it was 9 o'clock, whatever. And a time that nobody should really come knocking on the door that's somebody you don't know. The ring chime goes off. We're like, what the hell? And we get a knock or ring on the doorbell. And like, who the hell is this lady? So I go and I answer the door. And it's some girl. She's like, is Karissa Napier here? Karissa Brenner. Sorry, Karissa Brenner. Is Karissa Brenner here? Benner. Sorry. Doesn't matter anymore. Sorry. Anyways, Karissa Benner here. And I was like, may I ask who's asking for her? And she goes, I just need to talk to her. I think she was the representation for the defense.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, hold on. And I closed the door and I was like, Karissa, somebody's here to talk to you from the defense. And this whole time, we're like, me and her ex now, but her boyfriend at the door. He was the ex at the time, but he was still a good friend of yours. We're like, okay, you need to be careful what you say if somebody from the defense is here to talk to you, because this is out of line. This is not something that should be done without your own representation.
You never spoke to this person. There's only one reason why someone like that would come.
Well, they wanted to see what my story was.
Why?
Because they wanted to make sure it matched up with what I wrote
Sure.
down and what they every little detail almost needed to be exact because you didn't want. So that's what I did. I walked through the whole night or the whole morning again and everything. And she goes, yep, that matches up with what's been written down. And it's like, well, no shit. I'm the one that wrote it.
And here's the thing though, this is the defense doing this and not giving any kind of heads up.
Mm-hmm.
Like
nobody called me. Nobody.
I feel like that has to be illegal.
I don't know if it's illegal.
Well, I mean, that's just like out of pocket or something. I don't know. I just feel like that's just not a right thing to do.
It was
seems strange to me.
Yeah,
it was very
young
strange.
Hispanic, maybe only 5 foot, and she was.
I'm going to say she was hot as hell. So I was like, "You go ahead, and come in, girl." No, I'm just kidding.
Come on in, girl.
Come on in.
We just raw dogging it.
I was going to go there, but I was going to leave it alone.
Not me, baby. Not me.
I even tried to tell Chris to give her my number as she left, but she didn't do it. Okay, go on with the story, please.
So yeah, she comes in. She comes in, and I have to tell the whole story again, and then afterwards, we don't hear anything. We don't hear anything for a while.
Well, she also felt with you as well. Like she was very sympathetic.
She had a lot of sympathy towards me. She felt like she was like, yeah, I don't think they're gonna try to get out of it. I think they're gonna end up pleading guilty. And so that's all I hear. And I did call the DA and I was like, this happened. And she's like, yeah, that's very normal for them to do. And I'm like, okay, interesting. I wish I would have known. So then it was like, oh my gosh, like 2 months ago, I sent a text to the DA and I was like, hey, haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on? She's like, hey, can you talk in the next 45 minutes? I was like, hell yeah, I can talk. And so she called me. She's like, it's so funny that you called me or that you texted me, because the day before, she's like, you must be a clairvoyant. Because the day before, I had just talked to his lawyer. They gave me a litigation package, which is basically a package to be like, feel sympathy for the guy. And he apparently had horrible upbringing, drug addicted parents, blah 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 blah. I don't give a shit, because I know people that have had very rough upbringings. They did not stab somebody. So she's like, they're willing to plead guilty, but they only want to do 2 years. I'm like, oh. She goes, or you can do almost like a house arrest, and he'll have a social worker come to the house, and that's more one-on-one, because he does have mental illnesses. And I'm like, I feel sympathy, but I don't feel sympathy, but I want to make the right call, but I don't want to make the wrong call. And so I'm like talking this out with her, and she's like, I'm going to take this out of your hands. If we were to take this to a jury, they'd only give him 2 years. Is that okay with you? And I was like, you know what? I'm ready to close this door, and ready to close this chapter. So if 2 years is what I'm going to get, 2 years is what I'll take. And then she goes, can you be in court next Wednesday? I said, hell yeah, I can be in court next Wednesday. I don't care.
Hell to the fucking
hell
yeah.
Yeah, right?
I don't give a shit what I'm doing. I did not care. I already knew I was off that Wednesday, but I would not have cared if I was working. I was going to be in court on Wednesday. And so, yeah, then Wednesday came, and I remember like I sent a text out to both of our family, because we have a big family group chat, and then we have an immediate family group chat. And my mom was telling my brother, you need to go with Karissa to the courthouse.
I mean, I was already.
That is not what your mom sounds like.
I had already sent a message when you told us about that. I had already sent a message to my manager at the time, saying, "Hey, like this is happening," because I had told her about your attack, from a year ago, and I was like, "Listen, I need to be there for my sister," because I knew mom and dad weren't going to be there. They were out of town at the same time. They go out of town a lot.
They have the perfect time.
I know. Love retirement. But no, I was able to take that day off and be there with you. But
not the whole day.
Just
the morning.
Go. Let's tell us about that day.
Okay.
Tell us about the day. What?
So,
how did it go?
Yeah.
How did you feel when you woke up that morning?
Well, so I didn't sleep the night before.
Really?
I did not sleep. I maybe slept a half an hour to an hour. I did not sleep because my anxiety was through the roof. I was nervous. I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to feel walking into that courtroom. I knew nothing. So I did not sleep. And so that morning, it was like, time to just get up. I was laying in bed, but I wasn't asleep. So then it was like, okay, let's get up. Let's get ready. We're going to do this. And so court, I think, we were scheduled to be there at 9. So we left the house around 8 because we wanted to make sure that we had enough time. We didn't know really where we're going, so we wanted to make time. So it was
parking in downtown Austin. Jesus.
So it was my brother, it was Tressa, and it was my ex-boyfriend, and then me. The 4 of us going to the courthouse.
I drove.
Of course, thank God.
That's a really important part of the story.
It's a very important part. I am a good brother.
So we get to the courthouse, and I'm supposed to have a victim advocate who's supposed to be there from the time I walk in that courthouse to the time I leave. He was nowhere to be found. He was like, I'll meet you downstairs at 8:45. Okay. I'm there at 8:30, and I'm calling him. He's not answering. And I'm like, great. We don't know where to go. We don't know what to do. But this place is like 13 floors. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
They have 4 elevators. Only one was working, so it was a giant line to get on the elevator.
That was when I went to jury duty. And you know what? Every floor looks exactly the same.
Literally the same.
I got off on the wrong floor 3 times.
It's like being at a goddamn Las Vegas casino. No windows, crazy carpet.
If I remember correct, the first time I was like, oh, I'm 1 floor too high. So I went through the staircase, and you can't get in through the staircase. It's only like an exit.
One floor too high, or you were too high?
One floor too high.
He was in jury duty. He wouldn't be high going to jury duty. Come on now.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
Okay, back to the story. Back to the story.
So then I'm like, I get this brilliant idea. I'm like, let me reach out to the DA. So she calls me and she's like, where are you? And I see her across. I'm like, I think that's her. That looks like her. And it was. And so she takes us upstairs, and finally the victim advocate shows up. And he looked like a football player, like an ex-football player.
He was a big dude.
Yeah, he was a big guy from Louisiana. Really nice man. So he was there. And then
what was his excuse again?
he was off the day before and he forgot.
He was hungover.
That's more like it. He was
That's
hungover.
a great excuse.
Yes.
I was off yesterday, so I forgot I worked today.
Right.
I forgot you were here. So we're in the waiting room of like the courthouse, and it seems like a doctor's office, right? And so we're in the waiting room, and she comes out and she's like, hey, so they forgot to put the work order in to bring him over here. So he's not here. So we can't do it. I'm like,
Do what?
sentence.
Couldn't
They
even have the trial
can't
because he
even have-
wasn't there.
He wasn't there.
Well, it wasn't a trial. It was just
It-
sentencing.
yeah,
sentencing,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, the pleading and the sentencing. They didn't have it. And so she was like, we could probably do it tomorrow. And I just go into full like,
Dude, just put him in a car
right?
and bring him
That's
over.
That's
Chris
what
is
I
like, I'll go get him.
Tell me his name.
Where's he at? What's his name?
Do we really need pen and ink on this
I'm like,
little
oh.
scenario?
But like, I wanted to see him. I had to face him face to face. So I needed him there. But yeah, it was just, it was so devastating. Like when they told me that, and I was like, they're like, we could probably do it tomorrow. And I'm like, I had my whole day planned. I was going to get shit
I'm getting a
faced.
massage tomorrow.
No, fuck that shit. I was getting shit faced after court.
She is my sister. All right.
Just
all right.
raw dogging
now I
it,
see the
baby.
resemblance.
So I kind of shut down, and then the victim advocate takes me into like a little office space, and she comes back. The DA comes back, and she's like, well, we can do it tomorrow. I was like, is there any way we can do it today? Like, I really wanted this to be done today. Okay, let me go see what I can do. So then she comes back. She's like, we can be back. Can you be back at 2:45? I said, yes, I can. Or 2:15. Yes, I can. And I walk out. I said, guys, we're coming back at 2:15. And so we went home, and my ex made tacos for us, potato, egg, and cheese tacos. And then I took a nap, and then we woke up, and it was, let's go back. We had our dry run. Now this is it. This is the real one.
And we knew where to go this time.
Yeah.
Knew where to go, knew where to park.
I
And
got
we
a
parked in the
question
same spot.
for that. So you took a nap. Did you do that because you're just like, I just want to not be here until this happens?
It was like I was
I
at
do
like
that
a
sometimes.
almost like at a high, and now I'm like crashing
Oh, okay.
because I was so nervous going the first time, and I was like, my nerves were at all time, like, and I was just, and so then I just crashed, and it was like nap time. And so then when I got up, I was like calm, cool, collected. We already went there, already know what to do. So then we went back. We parked in the same spot, did the whole thing over again, and then this time we went into also, we had this like waiting room, like, they're like big empty waiting rooms, almost like a doctor's office, right? And nobody's in this waiting room, nobody except for the four of us. And then somebody else shows up, and she's talking on the phone, and you're just kind of like, who is this lady? And she sits, this is a big waiting room, and she sits 2 seats away from us.
Is it the open room, like out in public, or is this
Yeah.
a separate private room?
Open. And she sits 2 seats away from us. And then it dawns on me and Tressa, that's his grandma. That is his grandma. And she has the whole waiting room, and she chooses to sit
I
next
don't know
to
if you
us.
know this, but maybe it's a guy thing, I guess, because stalls. But in the restroom, there's like, let's say there's like 6 to 10 stalls.
You
Or
don't
sorry,
get
so there's urinals, right? And let's say I take the far left one, and no one else is in there. If a guy comes right next to me,
Buffer zone.
yeah, I'm gonna be like, dude, what the hell?
I think the rule is if there's 6 stalls and you're on the far left one, as a man,
You take the far right
the
one.
far right one.
Yeah.
And you go.
And then
from
the
there.
other guy takes the middle, and then you it's yeah.
It's only rare
So-
cases.
So red flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole fucking waiting room.
Yeah.
And she's 2 seats away from us. And they were like, this is the grandma. Well, why is she so close to us? And I'm like, I feel my blood boiling because I'm like, this bitch was hiding him this whole time. Bitch, why is she standing right there? Then we're called into the courtroom and they have us sit down. And I mean, I felt like we were sitting there forever. I don't know that we really were, but like, it felt like time stood still.
5-10 minutes. Maybe.
It felt like forever. Because I remember just like sitting there behind the DA in the front row, and I kept my eye on the door of the jail. And so I kept my eye because I knew he was going to come out of there. And so kept my eye over there. And they had like trouble, right? Like they needed paperwork.
Yeah, the defense was just awful, man. Like they, one, forgot to summon their guy, so we had to go there later, or even the next day, but luckily we were able to go there later. And then when we get there, the judge asked for some certain paperwork. He's like, oh, we don't have that. Hold on. And so we had to wait even longer for them to get this like certain paperwork done. Like it had to have been like the guy's first trial or something like that.
The whole reason you're here.
Yeah.
That guy needs to be here. Probably need the paperwork to get the guy here.
It was so like unorganized from the defense side. It was ridiculous. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So then he comes out and he does not look up. He has his eyes on the ground the entire time. And he goes up to the judge because she's on her little bench. So he goes up there and she's basically like telling him like, you're coming at this at your own free will. Nobody's forcing you to take this deal because we now have a deal of 2 years in jail, no probation, no parole. And so he's accepting his terms, and then he has to turn around and go sit down at his desk. And
then my sister gave this like incredible speech. You got to actually face him and you got to tell him like I wish you had it here right now with you.
I do. I have it.
You have it?
Yeah.
You have it with you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you feel comfortable
Yeah.
reading it out?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right. Okay, so as I'm reading this, he is like, because I'm looking up every so often, and he does not make eye contact with me. His eyes are down the entire time.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Never making eye contact.
I'm watching him the entire time, and
He probably feels all this.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he feels really bad, right? At that moment, I hope everything's setting on him. He realizes, and that's why he can't. He feels so horrible.
Yeah, like the best way to describe it was he looks so small and he looks so pathetic.
Inferior.
Yeah.
Like a little
100%.
bitch.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly. Like a little bitch that he was. So here's my little story. So it says, good morning. My name is Karissa. I'm 34 years old and I'm a mom to a beautiful 7-year-old girl. I'm the co-manager at DSW where this attack took place. I have always been independent, strong, kind, compassionate, and I try to see the best in everyone. On the morning of July 9th, 2022, all that was taken away from me. I remember when he came down the aisle straight for me, I was caught off guard. He called me a stupid bitch and I turned to ask what. By the time I turned around, he was already attempting to stab me. He got me above my eye, the base of my neck, the top of my neck, and my left thigh. I remember thinking, if I don't scream, I'm going to die. I feared for my life. I didn't know what he was capable of. After the attack, I was so worried about losing my eye. To this day, I don't know why he did it. He and I got along. I never really coached him or was mean to him. If he had questions, I answered them. There was no reason for this. I have racked my brain looking for answers, and still, I have no idea. That will always be my biggest question. Why did you do this to me? Why me? My daughter was scared to come around me because of how I looked. My first night after the attack, I had my first panic attack because I was worried he knew where I lived. I remember every time I went to sleep, I woke up in a cold sweat and panicking. My then boyfriend stayed awake all night so I could sleep. I didn't leave my house for 2 weeks. Finally, I had to go to my first workers' comp appointment, and I had another panic attack. I couldn't be around people, especially anyone that looks like him. I stayed in my house as much as I could. If I had to leave my house, I did not go alone. I needed someone to be with me to help me. I had to have surgery to fix my eye. It had a permanent droop. The doctor was very surprised it did not puncture my eye, as the blade went right through all my eye muscles. Even though my eye is mostly better, it's not perfect. So most times when I look in the mirror, I see that and think about the attack. My first therapy appointment, I was diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and anxiety. This is something that I will live with for the rest of my life. I've never suffered from any of these until that day. I attempted going back to work twice, but had to take time off as it was too much. When I first came back, I was having panic attacks every other day. I couldn't be the manager I was hired to be, and I couldn't be the leader I needed to be. I was severely depressed and needed to take time off to get better. For 5 months, the time it took you to get arrested, I was left with so much fear, anger, anguish, and distrust in the justice system. I was afraid he was going to come find me and finish the job. Even now, almost a year later, I still suffer badly from depression. I've had some really dark days, but thankfully have gotten few and far between. I now have a worst case scenario brain. If I can't get a hold of someone, I fear the worst because the worst has happened to me. The relationship I had ended largely because of this and my issues stemming from that day. My parents have also suffered. If they don't hear from me, they worry something that has happened again. My daughter had separation anxiety for months after the attack. My coworkers are more hyper aware of their surroundings and attitudes of other employees and customers. Thomas, I hope that when you get out, you get the help that you need so something like this doesn't happen again. I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. I hope you learn tools to help you deal with your anger, and I hope when you get out, you can be a better human. So I say this whole thing, and he's never making eye contact at all.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I mean, I was there, and that was a very powerful moment. And as your brother, I absolutely applaud you for that. I mean, I don't know if I could have gone through what you went through, and to be able to say that so eloquently while you were up there on the stand, it was a very powerful moment. I shed a tear that day. I absolutely did. Yeah, I don't show emotion. Only one though. Only one tear.
Just
Only
a
one
single
tear.
tear.
Just one single tear.
What are you in prison? Like, you got a tattoo of that? Like, only one tear.
But yeah, it was fun coming off and like having my cheering squad be like, "Yeah, you did amazing."
Yeah.
I'm curious, how has the process of closure and moving forward been after after reading that letter and knowing the attacker's sentence?
I like skyrocketed. It has really felt like I was able to just kind of close the door and move forward. And I've like had a really toxic person in my life, and I just got tired of their bullshit and I cut them out. And that's something that I don't think I would have been able to do 4 or 5 months ago. I think because I am so like healed from everything I went through that I am able to do that. So I just kind of like skyrocketed, and I get told all the time now, like, "You look so good. You look really good." And it's like, thanks. Like, I never was told that. And then now like, they're like, "There's just something about you." Like, I went with my friend and her family was like, "You just look like you're glowing." And I'm like, "Thank you so much." Like,
I'm not pregnant.
I know. Hell no.
I'm raw dogging live, but I'm not pregnant.
Not that kind of raw dogging.
No. But yeah, it's just like I like feel better. I look better. And I just like, just closing that door was just so helpful to me. Yeah.
I'm curious, how has this experience changed your perspective on either your personal safety or even the criminal justice system in general?
So my personal safety, I now have a bat in my car.
Does it have nails in it?
No, but it should.
It should. I'll do that for you if you want.
Yes, please.
Negan style.
Yeah.
I have a taser in my car, a taser on my bedside table, pepper spray in my purse, as well as a little pointy thing. It's not gonna like stab anybody. But
By a pointy thing, do you mean a knife?
No.
I was like, what's a little
It's
pointy
supposed to
thing?
be
What is that?
Is it that cat thing you put in your fingers?
No, but that would be way cool. No, it's like if you like need to break a window, it's one of those.
Yeah.
But like
okay.
you can use it for like,
Yeah.
I have one of those too,
defense.
but there's a knife on the other end too.
That would be cool. But yeah, like, so I just got way smarter with like, and I'm very aware of my surroundings now, because before I'm like, look, like I had not a care in the world. Now
I feel
I'm
like most
like
people
it.
are like that
Yeah,
though. Like to put it in perspective, a lot of people, nothing happens, life is whatever, so they live in the kind of this fantasy land. Like, oh, it's safe where I live, or I live in a nice neighborhood, and you don't think it won't be me, right?
Right.
So I take it based on what you told me is you're being prepared now because you know it can happen.
I will never let that happen again.
Have you ever shot a gun before?
No,
Would you like to?
I don't think so.
You don't think
It's
so?
really
I
fun.
don't think so. Yeah, I know, but
I'm
like,
not a gun person, but oh man,
Would
I
you
shoot 'em.
Would you be open to going like to a range, like an indoor range here?
I mean,
and
Joey will take it.
I would love to, just to be like, if you shoot it once and you're like, it's not for me, it's not for you.
Yeah.
Cool. But I mean,
like it doesn't hurt to try, right?
yeah.
Yeah, like
They got a bar upstairs too. You
Oh, there
can't
you
go
go.
shoot afterwards.
oh. I thought you
She's
could
like,
go
oh,
drink and
that's-
then go.
oh.
Like
We'll
you
grab
pregame.
barbecue and everything. We'll do the Texas way.
There you
That's
go.
what pre-gaming is.
Yeah.
I was like, we didn't drink before we went for your
No, but
bachelor
they don't
party at
test
all.
you either, so you could pregame
you
if
go.
you wanted. But let's go.
Don't drink and shoot.
It's a very
Rise
bad
of Basic
idea.
Men
Said
says
nobody.
do not drink and shoot.
Said nobody. I had to ask.
Trying to think if I ever not drank and shot.
Jesus Christ.
All right, David. All right.
So let me ask one last question.
Of course.
So again, thank you for coming on and telling us this whole thing. So your story, what do you want to get out of this as far as the people, our listeners? What do you want them to get out of your story today?
I think two things. Like earlier, I said a lot of assault victims don't really tell their story. And so I think like shining a light on assault victims, I think is very important. And if I can just help one person out there shine a light on them, I think that's important. And I also think it's important that people get rid of toxic energy. Like if there's somebody toxic in your life, get rid of them. Like you can do so much better than like dealing with that shit. And I understand like I went through all that and I like closed that chapter and healed, and I get that like going through the thick of it, you can't like being around that toxic person, you feel like you need to, and I'm telling you now you don't. And so I think like those are my big two things. If I could help one assault victim or one assault survivor, I would love to. And I just want people to understand that like shit can happen. Like you can go to work one day and get stabbed. Like you just never know.
You could.
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, based on that too, and I think this might be the final question here for you before we close this out, but is there any strategies that you use now or that you find that is helpful to manage any lingering fears or anxieties that may arise from time to time for you?
So my therapist taught me breathing treatments. So I'll still kind of do those breathing treatments if I feel like a little bit of peak of anxiety.
What
just
is
kinda,
that?
It's just like really like breathing from your like chest and really like feeling the breath, and like taught me to like have my feet on the ground and almost like your feet are on the ground. You're like, and then just kind of walk yourself up from your body. Like your hands are on your legs, your butt is in the seat, and just kind of like, it's almost like bringing yourself back instead of going into a full panic. It's like, this is where you are right now. And it grounds.
Like focusing on where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
My
kind of
feet
like
are
that thing.
here.
Yeah.
I'm
like they're
sitting
like,
down.
what are name 5 things in the room? It's kind of like that, but it's just like on my own personal self. Cause
It's
that's
taking
one way.
your mind
Yeah.
and focusing on
Yeah, it's
what's
like
happening
keeping
here.
it here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do that, and I just like, and I like picked up doing puzzles again because I had stopped doing it for a year, and I picked that back up because that really helps with mental. And like I was going on, when the weather was better, I was going on hikes all the time and just like getting outside and just kind of clearing my head.
So going on hikes and stuff. Are you going to start coming on our weekly walks, or?
I want to, but I work the weekends.
Oh.
So if
I'm sure they'll let you take
Yeah.
off.
Call in.
Sure. No, but on my next Saturday I'm off, and I plan on me and Abby going.
Awesome.
Ooh, Abby. All right, let's go.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to have you,
Mhm.
Karissa, and honestly, we're incredibly grateful for you joining our podcast today to tell your story to us and our listeners. Honestly, your resilience and determination and courage are truly inspiring, and each of us here, will be here for you, okay, as you continue moving forward in your life and embracing every moment and newfound strength and and courage that you have. And to all our listeners out there, we hope that Karissa's story serves as a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable challenges, you can overcome and find hope in the darkest of times. And if you or anyone you know is struggling with similar experiences, remember that there is strength in seeking support and reaching out to those around you. Mental health really matters, and there's no shame in asking for help. So if you enjoyed this episode, share it with others who might find comfort or inspiration in Karissa's story. And remember that your support and understanding can really make a difference in someone's life. But lastly, make sure that you're following the Rise of Basic Men's Facebook and Instagram page to be notified when we post new episodes, or you can even stream RBM on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or any other major streaming platform. And really, till next time, keep rising, keep inspiring, and remember, your story matters.
And without their... God damn it!
Oh, man, that's definitely going to be...
And we're back!
Fucking nailed it.
Oh, Jesus.
2 words
Without further ado.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, it's been a long day. All right.